a referendum on the global corporate tax rate in Switzerland, taking place this Sunday. With us in the studio is the leading international tax expert. Today we have Xavier Oberson with us to discuss a large votation issue coming up this Sunday. There will be a votation on whether to lower the corporate tax rate, the global corporate tax rate, from 24 to 13%. I would like to know, what is the position of the people that want to vote yes on this issue?
Yes, the position is that this is the most important tax reform since 60 years in Switzerland. And the goal of this is to maintain big companies and to attract the place for cooperation in Switzerland, and also trying to attract new companies to come into Switzerland.
But the no concern that I've been reading is that we can't afford to lower the corporate tax rate, because then our budgets will be in disarray and we'll have to cut, either tax individuals more or cut government spending.
Yeah.
Is that a valid argument?
I disagree with this argument, because yes, we are going to lower the corporate tax, but we should look globally. And America is going toward 15% rate, England also the same. So it's a competitive world, and we need to adjust with the competition, otherwise the companies will leave. So I think not only we will, of course, we will reduce a little bit the rate at the beginning, but this will attract new business and then create more taxes eventually.
You know, it's interesting, because I was reading this article, it was in the Journal des Entreprises au Monde, and they talked about two issues. One is you can't really compare Switzerland on its own, because Switzerland exists in a competitive world, as you just mentioned. And secondly, they mentioned that you can't take the tax or the budget situation at one moment in time. And they gave this statistic that countries that lowered their corporate tax rate actually in the subsequent years had tax revenues increase as a percent of GDP.
Yes.
And countries that increased their corporate tax rate actually had tax revenues decrease as a percent of GDP.
And this is very likely to occur because since we are a small country and a very competitive country, so if we don't adjust to what's going on in the world, we are going to lose these companies, so then lose even more revenues. And there's also another argument which should be mentioned, that they tend to say this is like a gift for the shareholders, this corporate tax reform. But it's not true, because many economists have shown that the corporate tax is in fact borne not only by the shareholders but also by the workers. So I think the workers will also benefit from this reform.
Because I would think that economic growth, if you lower this corporate tax rate, that's a huge spending boost that can create employment, that can create economic growth in the canton and in the country.
Absolutely.
So if that's the case, why are the polls so close? I mean, I see that there is a poll that has it almost 50-50 between the yes and the no.
Yes, because the opponent have made a very strong position, and they try to combine, to say we reduce the corporate tax, therefore we are going to increase the income tax, and this is not true, and there's not even a single project toward this. But it's very difficult to show that something will not happen. I mean, from a political standpoint, that's why the campaign is very difficult. Plus, it's very technical. We talk about patent boxes, very sophisticated concept which exists everywhere. Right. But it's difficult to explain to the people exactly the outcome of all that.
To sum up, what's going to happen next? If the yeses win, what happens?
Yeah.
If the noes win, what happens to them? Because from what I understand, this is a federal votation, and there could be a subsequent cantonal votation later this year. So please put some more color on that.
Yeah, in fact, so if it's a yes, so this will be, I think, a very positive decision by the people. And then many cantons are also going to implement a cantonal law to implement the rate in particular. So there will be a second vote. But I guess the vote should also be favorable, because there will be a follow-up at the federal vote. But if it's a no, then of course we have to start all over again, and it will be very difficult, because it took more than 3 years to find a compromise, a typical Swiss compromise to get to this federal law. So if it's a no, we need to work again, and it will take years. And my fear is that we could have also some measure, retaliation measure from the OECD, from the EU, because we have promised to them that we are going to implement this reform. So we will have an international problem on top of that.
Do you happen to have any clients that, with your firm, that would be interested in coming to Geneva if there was a yes vote?
I would say so. I think many companies are waiting because they don't like uncertainty. Uncertainty is very dangerous and delicate. So they wait for the vote, but if the vote is yes, can imagine that many companies are going to come.
Thank you very much, Xavier, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Well, on behalf of Dukascopy TV and AIC TV, I'd like to thank you, the audience, for joining us today and look forward to many more interesting interviews in the future.